So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing webinar. Today's webinar is a very special one. We're doing a wine tour of Greece. And my two co-hosts, not me for sure, but my two co-hosts, they are the experts on this stuff. They know everything. They are entertaining. They are cool. They are good friends of mine. So please let me first welcome my co-host, Foti Stamos. Hello, Foti. Welcome.
Aswari. And as you said, I'm also super excited about this webinar because there's so many great regions in Greece that needs attention and a great breakdown. And what better or who better to have with us to do that is our colleague, friend, associate, anything you can think of, Johnny Livanos of Diamond Wine Importers. Johnny, thank you so much for doing this with us. We're super excited.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to talk about Greece, talk about Greek food and wine, especially with you guys. Ari is more about the food part, but
right.
True.
And I just came back actually from a trip to Greece earlier this week, so I have Greek touring mode fresh in the blood.
He said frescos, as they say in Greek.
Can you give us, I know this really doesn't have a lot to do with much, but just a very quick rundown on what the situation is in Greece, how you saw things, how it was going?
Yeah, I mean, my trip was nice. I started off in Crete, in the city of Chania.
Oh,
did a nice exploration there. Then we went to Mykonos. My first time to Mykonos, actually. I've always been against going, because I'm like, this place is a party tourist place. I should go to the real islands. And then I went there and I had the best time ever. It's so fun. I was really surprised. I didn't realize it still has small Greek island charm, which was cool. And then we went up to Thessaloniki in the northern part of Greece, and that's where we have the distillery for Stray Dog Gin. So we distilled a batch of gin together, and then I spent some time in Athens. And towards the end of my trip is when the fires started happening. That was definitely challenging. Luckily, it didn't really affect us much, but definitely in Athens, you could kind of there was a smoky haze in the city. You could smell the smoke. And so, things have definitely been tough in the areas of southern Athens, especially Evia. Evia has been hit the hardest. Yeah. That's the second biggest island, kind of right to the east of Athens. And a lot of people had to evacuate and flee certain villages there, which has been heartbreaking to see. But I heard recently that there's been some rainfall there that has provided a little bit of relief to Evia.
Oh, wow.
Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all done, but I just heard things have gotten a little bit better there. But at the same time, I mean, it's been decimated. Apparently the whole northern side of the island lost all its forests. So that was really sad. But, I got a little bit of experience because, with Stray Dog Wild Gin, we're talking about wine today, but just one quick mention with the gin is that we work with a nonprofit called Save a Greek Stray. And so we would give a portion of our sales to a dog shelter in Greece, and they were rescuing abandoned animals or animals that were lost during all the chaos of the evacuation. So we were able to support them a little bit and help them in their endeavors to just make sure people didn't lose.
That's really
their animals. So
that's really
thank God
really
there was But it was really fun to be there back in Greece. I haven't been to Greece in a few years, so it was beautiful to be there. Being a Greek American with roots there, I like to travel to Greece as often as we can. So that's kind of the goal with this webinar, is to take you to Greece. I'm not sure if many of you have been able to travel there or not recently or ever. Judging by the last names of a lot of people in the chat box, I feel like we have a lot of Greeks here. So maybe you've all been there. So hopefully this could be a little tour of Greece to bring you back. So I have a little presentation I'll share in a moment, but basically,
did we lose him?
Today we want to give a brief overview of Greek wine, the industry. I want to discuss a little bit of the main varieties. And then we're going to talk about a few regions, Santorini, Crete, the Peloponnese, and then northern Greece. So those are the main regions I want to cover. And if if anyone has questions, just type them in the chat box and we can get to them as we go. But yeah, a little quick brief overview, and Foti, if you have any questions or things, just chime in.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I'm a third generation Greek American restaurant person. My grandfather started in the restaurant business when he came here from the United States, from Greece, and so when I grew up working in restaurants myself, and of course Greek restaurants. So I've been working with Greek wine for a very long time, and it's been fun to see my journey in the Greek wine world change as I learn more about the wines, get more interested and involved in the industry. But I've been able to see the whole industry completely blossom and grow up a lot, especially just in the last 15 years. There's been a tremendous increase in quality. In the Greek wine world, it's an industry of farmers, and I think it's always important to mention is that the roots of the Greek wine world are farming, agricultural based. But in the past a couple of decades, you've seen a tremendous increase in the investments in wineries, education and quality winemaking. So now you have a marriage of old school techniques, indigenous ancient Greek varieties, and modern technology to make what is now, I think, the perfect recipe for unique and delicious wines to drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for those of you who are just getting into Greek wines, there's over 300 varieties. There's 300 types of grapes grown there, over 300. Wow. So it's a lot. So it could be a little bit intimidating for people. But so that's why today we're going to tour you through a few key regions, discuss a few key grapes, all wines that are available on Urban Wine Club as well. Just so to make sure you can kind of navigate the giant world of Greek wine a little bit easier, so that when you're trying something out, in a store or in a restaurant, you could have a good idea of what to look out for. So I always have my email here. Feel free, anyone here can email me if you have any questions about Greek wine. Where to find them, johnny@diamondwineimporters.com. Yeah, so we could get started here. Here is our map of Greece. So of course, so first of all, one thing you need to know to say in Greek is yamas. This is a Greek word for cheers. So cheers, everyone. Cheers, Fotiari.
Cheers, Johnny.
Cheers, Johnny.
Yamas. Okay, so we are going to start our little wine tour and the island of Santorini. So Santorini is this little blue dot here in the middle of the southern Aegean Sea. Santorini has been producing wines for thousands of years. It's one of the oldest wine producing regions in the world, and they have records up to 3,500 years ago of winemaking. So it's a pretty ancient place, and Greece gets a lot of credit for being one of the main birthplaces of wine. Coming from the Middle East and Levant through Greece, and then from there it traveled to the rest of the Western civilization. But Santorini is definitely one of those birthplace islands where it gets a lot of credit for kind of showing modern wine, and especially with the worship of the god Dionysos. A lot of the love for wines has trickled down to the rest of Greek civilization. And here's a picture of Santorini, just to make you all jealous and want to get back there. It's so beautiful. Not only is it a great place for wines, but it is one of the most beautiful places on earth. You have these very beautiful cliffs, these dramatic cliffs where they build these hotels basically and villas right along, where you have amazing views of the sunset and the caldera. The caldera is basically the center of the volcano. So Santorini is a volcanic island, and it actually erupted in 1650 BC. And when it erupted, it was probably, I think to date, one of the largest volcanic eruptions ever recorded in human history. It completely decimated the Mediterranean and wiped out, some civilizations. Really changed the whole game in the area. But for now, we at this point in time, we kind of we get to basically drink wine that is grown on that volcanic terroir. So the wines that we have from Santorini are grown on a combination of of lava rock, volcanic ash, pumice, and I have some pictures of the stone. So this is basically an example of a cutout of what it looks like. this is the soil composition that the wines grow on, like white ash like that, black lava. There's nowhere else in the world that grows wines in these types of conditions. And that together creates a really unique style of wine. So when you're having wines from Santorini, they're always going to have a really bright acidity, very tart, and also a pronounced minerality and almost even a saltiness to it. You know, because it's so close to the sea, that minerality from the volcanic soil, you're going to have this intense aroma that is unlike really anywhere else in the world. I also love mentioning, this is how they grow their vines on Santorini. They grow them in this basket method. And they train the vines to grow this way to protect the grapes. So for those of you who have never been to Santorini, it is so windy there. It is like violently windy. You know, you cannot wear a hat on Santorini, or else it'll just blow into the ocean. But they train the vines this way. They've been doing it like this for thousands of years to protect the actual grapes from the wind. So the grapes will be trained to grow inside the vines, kind of like a little barrier, a little shield to protect the wind, protect the grapes from the wind, which blows sand and rocks and things like that, so the grapes don't get damaged. It also doesn't rain on Santorini at all. So by training the vines low to the ground like this, it allows the vines to kind of absorb that morning moisture, that morning dew, which is just such a recipe for really unique wines. I mean, you know, I don't know if you've heard about this, but, you know, with wines that struggle more, like when the vines are under more stress, they end up producing a more flavorful product. So like the roots here have to really dig.
It's like they're working out, right, Johnny? If the wines are under extreme stress and they're searching for their nutrients.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're training their muscles.
Right. Yeah. And that means bigger muscles, bigger fruit.
Exactly. And Santorini would, exactly. And that gives them more characteristics. And especially the vines, as they're struggling to get water, the vines dig deep, deep down to the ground. It's not uncommon for them to go up to like 60 feet deep. And at that level, they're just pulling in very concentrated water that's full of minerals, which again makes it. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you know any other volcanic areas that have produced wines just like this? Have you had much experience with that?
There's the only other location that I can think of, but it's not nowhere near the same dynamic of Santorini, would be Sicily. I mean, Sicily also, but there's, I think, a different element in Sicily than there is in Santorini.
Yeah, they're definitely very different. But again, having that volcanic terroir adds a lot of flavor to the wine. So yeah, I would compare them to wines from Sicily, the Canary Islands as well, and off the coast of Spain.
Yep.
And then a lot of people compare these wines actually to like white Burgundy or to Chablis in terms of their flavor profile, because they have that bright minerality and that acidity, which is pretty common in that part of the world.
Yeah. And still, I still think, Johnny, it doesn't do justice of how great these wines are, but it's a great starting point to give people an idea.
Yeah, exactly. I just love showing this picture because while it looks like it's a pile of rocks, imagine a vine having to dig down through this kind of soil. That's what these vines do. It's like Santorini is really a miraculous place because nothing really should grow on this kind of soil, this kind of substrate. It looks like concrete. And yet these vines can dig 60 feet deep, deep down to the soil. And as they're doing so, they're pulling up this fantastic minerality and all these amazing characteristics that make the wines unique. Here's another picture. This is actually from Domaine Sagales. This picture is taken. This is a traditional vineyard on Santorini. So more traditional vineyards that you're probably used to seeing are, you know, standing up in a trellis system and the vines go out. But on Santorini, everything's grown in this on the ground, hand-picked, harvested, everything done by hand. So it's a labor-intensive job, but the final result is something that you can't really compare to really anything else in the world. So it's something that I'm very proud of. And as Greeks, we're very proud of the wines of Santorini because they are world-class and they're unlike anything else out there.
So cool.
Yeah. And we could also give some credit to Greek ingenuity for taking this kind of terroir and like learning how to grow and grow well.
Exactly.
That's
Greek
like
engineering.
Brilliant. Yeah.
and they've been doing it for thousands of years. And what I love that is like even the way they grow the vines, it's a tradition that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation. So while they could grow them different ways, right? They could incorporate modern techniques. The fact is, this way is perfect. The way they did it thousands of years ago is to this day the perfect way to grow them on Santorini.
That's so cool.
And that's what I love about it. It's like they could grow them traditionally, but you know what? They won't taste the same. They won't survive the same way. They won't produce the same characteristics. So, you know, I love that paying tribute to the traditional techniques. It goes a really long way. And in Greece, you know, we're very proud people. We always love our tradition, our heritage. But in a place like Santorini, you could see it really stay alive, and people stay true to those traditions, whether it's with farming or with drinking.
Out of curiosity, Johnny, is there anybody on the island that doesn't do the traditional way? Is there anybody that tried something more modern?
Yeah, I mean,
you failed.
I'd say the majority of them are grown this traditional way, probably at least 90%. But yeah, some wineries do a more traditional technique. Maybe there's sides of the island that are less windy and they could stand up straight. And also, if they're growing other wines, like if they're growing some of the red wines, they maybe do those and they stand them up. This is really a traditional way of growing a Sirtico and the white varieties. Yeah. But certain sides of the island are less windy. When you're on the top of these cliffs and these higher altitude areas, that wind is going to blow everything away. So you have to, you almost need to grow it this way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And to finish our talk about Santorini, I wanted to quickly mention Domine Cyclades. This is one of the premier producers on the island. They like to consider him the godfather of Santorini winemaking. He brought modern winemaking to the island after doing it basically as a hobby. You know, he was a math teacher making wine on the side in his family vineyards, and it took off. People realized, and people told him how good of a wine he was making, and then they convinced him to basically build his own winery. So in the early 90s, he started his own winery, and he's been growing wine in a natural way with organic farming since 1994. And he's one of the first people to do organic farming in the wine world there in Greece, and using better technology to make great wine. So his is a relationship between great technology in the winery, but then in the vineyards using the ancient techniques. Here's just a picture of doing the harvest there. So again, everything done by hand, all organically. These are two wines I highly recommend you all to look out for: the Aetheri blend, the AM, and then the Santorini Assyrtiko. And no Greek wine, no Assyrtiko from Santorini is complete without a nice plate of food. In Greece, wine is food. You always want to have it with your meal to accompany your dishes. So something like this, a whole calamari or octopus, is a great pairing with a Santorini Assyrtiko for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any questions here, or what do you think? Should we move on to go to Crete?
Oh, the other thing we can quickly mention too, Johnny, is that isn't Santorini one of the few places or limited places around the world that has never been affected by phylloxera?
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing to mention. So phylloxera, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a parasite that attacks the roots of the vines, and partially because of us Americans, we brought these parasites to Europe, and it decimated all of the European vineyards. And it did a lot of damage. So like wiped out vineyards from Spain to France to Italy. And in America, we never had that problem because the vines in North America, for some reason, were immune to this parasite. So all throughout Europe, to combat this parasite, they actually graft American roots on the bottom with European tops. So like they'll take the Chardonnay, but graft it on American roots, which is immune to the parasite, as a way to combat phylloxera. But because Santorini has these tremendous winds in the sandy soil, phylloxera can't survive there. So luckily for them, they've had wines that are ungrafted on the original rootstock, which allows them to have some of the oldest vines on earth. So the average age for a lot of vines, especially like with Cyclades or other wineries we work with, they can be up to 60, 70 years old, and even some up to 100 years old. That's just the size and the age of the vine. And as the wines get older, They produce more concentrated flavor. They'll make less fruit, less actual berries of grapes, but the grapes that they do make will have more in-depth flavor, more concentration.
Nice.
So that's another reason why the wines from Santorini are just so unique and special.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
I'll drink
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so let's head to Crete. Crete's gonna be the next place we talk about. Crete is, I was just there. It is so beautiful. I think Crete's one of my favorite islands in Greece. Have you guys ever been?
Never, but
I have. Yeah.
was it your first time in Crete?
Actually, my second time.
Second, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the first time I went, I was in the Heraklion area, which is in the center. This time I was here in Chania on the west side of the island, which is gorgeous. But Heraklion is important, and the center of Greece is important for us for this conversation because that's where a lot of the best wineries come from. So this area has a beautiful mountain range, so high elevation vineyards. And we worked with a bunch of producers there, but namely the one we talk about today will be Nikos Douloufakis winery, because they focus on a lot of these indigenous varieties from Santorini, like Vidiano and Liatico, which are both red and white wines. But Crete is gorgeous. I mean, it's a rugged terrain. You have such a unique landscape. I love that it's like a big island. It's the biggest island in Greece and the southernmost island, where it's very, very warm. So you have this environment that's very unique to producing great agriculture, great wines, food. But by being on this high elevation in these mountains, you also have the wind flow, not as violent as Santorini and strong, but still a strong wind flow that helps keep the vines growing safely from pests. It helps them mature and ripen well. And it's a great recipe for producing high quality wines. That's me in Crete. That's me in Crete enjoying myself. This is why I love Crete so much. It's just there's always good food everywhere you go. And that's me drinking raki, which is basically tsipura or pomace brandy made from the local Cretan varieties with a nice little lamb feast over here. Yeah, I just love showing that because that's why I have.
What time is it there that you're having that raki? It looks pretty early in the day.
There's no wrong time to have raki. You can't help it. No matter where you go, they just give it to you.
You could tell by the
every meal I had there.
He can't. He doesn't look like he's standing up straight in this picture.
It's not.
Well, it was because I ate too much lamb. I couldn't hold my belly. Was like my balance was going forward.
And not only that, but I gotta say that haircut, John. You could set your watch to that haircut right there. That is nice and trim and neat.
Yeah, I don't know. My long hair, my flow is getting tired of it. I might go back. I might want to bring my buzz cut back. Those are good. Those are real days. Less maintenance, like less conditioner.
Fatih's had the same haircut for 20 years.
It's
2020, the pandemic made me grow it out.
Yeah, like COVID hair.
So just a little bit about Crete. So Crete is home to a variety of indigenous varieties that only are found in Crete. That's one thing I love about it. You know, we go to Greece, there's hundreds of varieties there. But in Crete, you know, there's a lot of varieties that are unique to this island. For whites, Vidiano, Malvasia, Mascaraspina, Villana, those are some of the main varieties to keep an eye out for. And on Santorini, the main one is a Sirtico. And then here for reds in Crete, Liatico, Kotsifali, and Mandilati are the main varieties to keep an eye out for. But two specifically I'd like to mention are Liatico for red, and here's a picture of the Liatico, and then Vidiano for white. And that's actually what I'm drinking in my glass right now, is a Vidiano from Douloufakis winery. This is the Aspros Lagos, which is a barrel-aged version of this wine, which is delicious.
delicious.
So, you know, if you're traveling through Crete, it's an island that's been producing wines for hundreds of years, thousands of years. In like the early 1900s and throughout the 50s and 60s, they really were focused on producing, you know, high volume wines, bulk wines, and they worked with a lot of international varieties. But in the past 30, 40 years, a lot has changed, where now the main focus is on the indigenous grapes of the island. The winemakers really want to tell that story, especially people like Nikos Douloufakis we work with, as being a pioneer in showcasing the indigenous grapes that make the island so special. I just love showing this picture. when you go to Crete, it's a patchwork of farms, olive groves, fig trees, and then a vineyard. So you have so many things growing harmoniously together. And here's another picture. So it's a more traditional vineyard here. So unlike Santorini, where they grow them on the ground, here they use a more traditional trellis system. But again, everything is still done by hand here. It's very common it's very important for our winemakers and Crete to do things by hand, because you have a lot more control over the final product. You know, if you do it by hand, you get to see every single cluster of grapes before they go into a basket. And you're able to make sure that you're only picking grapes when they're ripe and they're of the best quality. And at Douloufakis Winery, they also do everything organically. And I love talking about that because in Greece, it's pretty normal. It's, doing things organically is the right way to do it. And that's the way they've been doing it for hundreds of years. They're not doing it because it's trendy and cool. They're doing it because they respect the land. And that's the way they've been trained from generation to generation, is to respect the land, to treat the soil well, and to do things in an organic way to create a natural, beautiful product without the use of chemicals. They don't use fertilizers. This is an example of cover cropping, where instead of using fertilizers and chemical fertilizers to treat the soil, they'll grow cover crops in the off season, so that when their grapes are, as they're approaching spring, they'll till the cover crop back into the soil to reintroduce nitrogen and those nutrients back underground. So this is basically a picture of what the vineyards look like before springtime, as the cover crops have grown.
Johnny, so do they ever practice biodynamic?
Yeah, I mean, biodynamic is a whole other element, but yeah, they do incorporate some of that into their winemaking on the island. Biodynamic wines is a way, it's kind of like the holistic approach towards agriculture, where a lot of it involves, the astrophysics of where the moon is, where the most optimal, where the sky, yeah, exactly. Looking at everything, taking everything into consideration. And, if there's an issue, or if there's like a pest, or if there's, a problem with the plants, they try to heal it holistically rather than using chemicals, which is the easy way to do it. It's kind of like the Eastern medicine of agriculture. That's how I like to look at it. It's like looking at Mother Nature as a one whole cohesive unit and trying to figure out naturally how to fix things. So yeah, that's something they do here, for sure. And that's something I love. It's just a fun way to like look and approach agriculture.
That's how it should be. It's how it should be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. You have to really
patience.
But that's patient. You have to spend the time in the vineyard.
But that's the point, right? That's the point. It's more difficult, but it's better. It's better all around. So I wish more people would abide by that.
And it not only is it better for the wines, but it's better for the environment, and it's better for the land. Like, if you just put chemicals into the ground, you're not going to get. The ground can't take that for so long, and eventually, it will burn itself out. But nature has been grow naturally on its own, and if you just do what it's meant to be.
And Johnny, to your point, if you burn that soil or land out, it takes years for it to recover, maybe a decade.
Exactly. You've seen some farms in like other parts of the world. I've seen this where like they abandon farms because like nothing can grow there anymore.
Oh,
yeah.
Awful. But cool. I mean,
doesn't happen here though.
I want to just include that because biodynamic is a hot topic in the wine industry, and it's great to highlight the fact that in Greece, as you mentioned, that it's a natural approach of farming is organically by default, and also the biodynamic approach because it's a cultural thing as well.
Yeah, and one thing to know is with wine, you're not always going to see the organic sticker on the labels. It's important to know who your producers are, because think about this. This is a small family-owned winery, and to get an organic certification, it could cost thousands and thousands of dollars per label, per wine. A small family-owned business, they can't afford something like that. So they just don't put that certification on there. But it doesn't change the fact that that's how they're growing it and that's how they've been doing it. So it's one thing to keep in mind as you're looking and buying wines. Do some research on where you're buying them from, and and talk to the shop owners or the sommeliers and people helping you, because they can help you put you in the right direction.
And that's so important to know,
I was
right?
going to say, Johnny, I was going to say that we need to create a movement, Johnny, that actually makes the certifications free for wineries.
Yeah, why not? I don't know who's even going there and doing it. It's someone flying all across the world and just going and check on it. But yeah, I don't know who the organic certification people are. But
Maybe,
definitely
maybe it's the wine mafia. Who knows?
So yeah,
we'll set the green mafia on them and fight.
So,
because that's important, you know. It's like they do the difficulty of growing organic, but because of, you know, all the business involved, it's like they can't afford to actually be certified. And you know, that's unfair. If you're doing organic, then you should be certified organic.
Well, you know who's the biggest seller of organic products? Is Walmart. You know, so like you think about organic is a big business, and all big businesses thrive in it, but sometimes it leaves the little guys out that are doing it, but you know,
yeah,
they're not going to do the whole certification process. It's just not what they do. It's not important to them, because what's important to them is producing good wines, good food, good products the right way, and they have integrity with what they're doing, and that's what's important to them.
Yeah, and
getting the stamp, it doesn't mean anything, you know.
So with that said, then you know, people should be knowledgeable about who is growing this stuff the right way, even if they're not certified. Knowledge will take care of the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. And these are just a couple wines that we import from Dudufakis worth mentioning. So again, he mainly, one of our big focuses is on the white variety Vidiano. We truly love this wine. I mean, it produces these wonderful full body textured whites with these aromatics of like tropical and stone fruits. I'm drinking this right now. I mean, it tastes like apricots in a glass with a little bit of that oak, but also there's some savoriness to it. So Vidiano is always a fun wine. And then we also make a amphora aged one at Dudufakis, which is aged in clay amphoras, which are traditional clay pots that they use in Greece for centuries. He actually digs the clay from his own vineyards to make the clay pots. So talk about going for a circle. And then for reds, we focus on Liatico. Liatico is a red variety, a little bit on the earthier side, tannic but light at the same time. Even sometimes with a little bit of chill, that wine is amazing. Again, two wines I love, great price point. And I think you guys had them in your store, right?
We have both.
Yeah, you have both of them. So definitely, if you're interested, go check out Greek Wine Club or Urban Wine Club to order some, because those are fun wines, and they're also at a great price point. I think these are some of the best priced wines on the store. For the price you're paying, they're tremendous value. So something just to consider for your next gathering this summer.
Yes,
absolutely, yeah.
And again, no Cretan wine experience is complete without a selection of delicious foods. Again, I just took these pictures. I think they show that Johnny, Mediterranean landscape really well. Yeah.
That's a quick question. The previous slide with the lineup of the wines, what was the middle wine?
These two are the amphora aged wines. So we have
is that an orange wine?
Yeah. So that's an orange skin contact Vidiano.
And that's available in the market?
I believe you have it available in Massachusetts. Yes.
Yes.
What's going on? Why is this not on the cart?
We're getting it on the card. That looks.
It's a very limited wine.
That's fine.
I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah.
I know they brought in a couple cases, and if you can get some, I'd recommend just snagging it all, because that's all they would have. They only make about less than 100 cases a year. So it's a super limited wine. But if you liked orange wines of skin contact, that's probably the best one to go for, because it's funky. It's definitely unique, but it's well made. It's a clean wine, no sulfites added. Aged in clay amphora. It has this beautiful orange color because they age it on the skins for 2 weeks. It is so delicious. And to me, it's one of the few orange wines that I really like. Because it has body, it has character, but it's also well made. It's not like, doesn't taste like skunky and weird. You know, it's a clean, well made wine.
Is it an approachable orange wine?
I would say it's an approachable orange wine for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
But, you know, it is unfiltered, so there might be some sediment in there. So it is, you know, you have to kind of just know what you're getting yourself into, but it is delicious.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll find some for you.
This is all fascinating stuff.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
And then they also make an amphora aged red wine as well, which we can talk about later. So the next region I want to run to is going to be the Peloponnese, the Peloponnesos. So the Peloponnese is home to a lot of famous Greek things. You have, this is where Leonidas in Sparta is from. This is where the original Olympics first took place. And this is where the Kalamata olive reigns supreme. So a lot of my favorite Greek things come from the Peloponnesos. This is the southern peninsula, right next to Athens, but it's also famous for their wines. This is actually the largest wine region in Greece. Very mountainous area with a rugged terrain, and it's dedicated mainly to indigenous varieties such as Moscofilero and Aioritico. So on the eastern side of the Peloponnese, you have some of the best wine regions, because basically you have these valleys and mountain ranges that dot this whole area. And a lot of the best wines in this area are grown on these high elevation vineyards. So Moscofilero is actually a pink skinned grape that produces white wines, and Aioritico is the red wine of the area. Both are grown in high elevation vineyards in a mountainous terrain. Nemea is only for red wines, and for Aioritico, and Mantinea is the appellation for Moscofilero. This is actually, it's one of the largest wine producing regions. So about 20,000 hectares of wine are grown here. We'll talk about Mantinea, and this is what Fotis has in his glass, I think. Mantinea is the region here where it's a high elevation mountainous area. So this is a picture taken from the vineyards. So you can see how you're really up in the mountains. In the southern part of Greece, the Peloponnese is very hot. When you're up in the mountains, it actually stays fairly cool. And again, this is a white grape with a pink skin, the Moscofilero variety. And I just love to mention that, like that being up in the mountains, having that cool climate produces a very unique wine. And these wines are produced by George Skouras, the ones we're going to talk about today from Domaine Skouras. And I just have a quick video to play of him describing Moscofilero. And I was going to take a couple minutes, let him do the talking, and then if you had any trouble understanding his awesome accent, I'll come in and I'll also talk about some of the main points. But let me know if you can hear this.
Yeah.
What we were tasting last night. Okay, Moscofilero, it is my grape. I love that grape very much. It is in the center of Peloponnese. I make wine with the Moscofilero the last 20 years. Moscofilero, it is a grape variety which we can find in the center of Peloponnese, in the plateau, and there is, and for that, because of that, it's typical. At about 2,200 feet, and up there it is a cold area of Peloponnese. Imagine that the harvest comes in October. That means a lot.
So real quick, I want to mention harvesting in October in Greece is pretty uncommon. Like in Santorini, they're picking their grapes now. This is in mid-August. So going to October is because it stays so cold there in the mountains that the grapes take some time to mature. It's just important to note, because if they ripen slowly, it allows them to maintain their aromatics and their flavor.
It's so unique.
Yeah.
John, is there any other place in the world that harvests so late without being a quote unquote late harvest production that's sweet?
I mean, I know like in Germany, they do that for sure.
Yeah.
Like Rieslings are oftentimes harvested later. Because again, it's colder there, so they don't have as much, and they don't have as much sunlight. So it does take a little bit longer to mature. Probably in New York, again, just really in the colder areas.
Okay.
Probably in northern Italy as well, in parts of France, I'd imagine too. But definitely in the warmer countries like in Italy and Spain and Greece, you're normally doing it August, September. In California as well, it's usually August, September. September is usually when they're harvesting grapes for most regions. But you know, it could range a month or two depending on where it is and depending on the year as well. vintage to vintage.
I just think it's interesting to put that information out there of like the reasons why.
As this
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to continue the rest of the video. We kind of talked a lot about those things, but definitely Moscow Filero is a fun variety. It's one of my favorite white varieties because it's so expressive. It's so aromatic. I mean, Foti, how is yours tasting right now?
Like the words you were describing before, like, you know, fresh. I can smell like just fresh cut bouquets come to the aromas, very citrusy, slightly tart, but very clean. The balance in this is phenomenal because it combines everything in such a harmonious combination that I can't keep the glass down.
Yeah, it's a great point you mentioned because, like,
And
not only
let me also mention that you know it does help. I don't know if the word help is correct, but it's like 100 degrees here in Boston today.
yeah,
It's super humid. It's atrocious, but this, you know, this wine really, you know, does justice to feel better on a day like this.
and also the Salto Moscow Filero you're drinking is a lower alcohol percentage, so it's like under 12% alcohol. So it's light, refreshing, fragrant, aromatic. And what I love about it is a lot of times aromatic wines that you drink, you'd almost expect it to be sweeter, but these wines are very crisp and dry. So it's refreshing while being aromatic. So it's a beautiful perfume to it. Like I love them. They're so unique. There's really nothing quite like it.
And I don't want to, I want to mention one thing about this production from Skuras, this Moscow Filero, which is labeled as Salto, which has nothing to do with salt, right?
Right.
Salto is the specific wine that indicates that it's from what, you know, fermented with wild yeast. But
Yes.
even though there's no salt in here, even though it has nothing to do with salt, the taste profile of it being so, you know, slightly tart, that lemon lime, for some reason, as the finish comes around, there's this sense of, when you keep looking at the label, it says Salto. There's a little bit of saltiness to it. Psychologically, I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, but it has like this minerality to it. Like it's not, because it's not just aromatic. It's a complex. It's not just floral and fragrant and citrus. You have so much going on. That's what's so fun about it.
But the cool thing is that one is not more intrusive of the other. They're just so, like, they're there, but not overpowering each other.
Exactly. So that's Moscow Filero in a nutshell. I mean, I think everyone should definitely try them, especially in the summertime. Those to me are the perfect summer wines. They drink really well when pairing with spicier foods. Like I love having this with Southeast Asian foods like Thai food, and Moscow Filero I think is the best pairing ever. Or with like ceviche with a little bit of jalapeno or habanero chilies in there. To me, those are fantastic. Yeah. And then the region of Nemea. This is the red wine region. It's directly next to Mantinea. So Domaine Skuras has vineyards in both regions, Mantinea and in Nemea. Nemea is dedicated only to the red wine called Aioritiko. So Aioritiko in Greek means Saint George. So it's the Saint George variety. These produce really beautiful red wines. They could be so diverse. So in this region, you could produce light, fruity style reds. You can produce more full body tannic style reds. You can produce rosés, and they even make dessert wines here, all from the same grape. So one grape has a tremendous amount of range and diversity, and it's basically up to the winemaker to decide how they want to make it and what do you think will do best. And also, it's again a mountainous region. This area has actually some of the highest red wine vineyards in Europe. So they have vineyards that go over 3,000 feet of elevation. And they're normally ranging around 2,500 feet. So again, it's another cool climate area. And this is Aioritiko, a picture of the grapes in a bottle. The St. George is a great entry point into this variety. It is so delicious, an easy drinking red, medium tannins, medium body, kind of like a Pinot Noir. And can I play this for a few minutes? Would you mind having George talk about Aioritiko?
Sure.
Do it, yeah.
What is Aioritiko? Excellent. Ayurvedico, it is a variety of really my region. You know, it is a variety. It's a red grape, existing there from the antiquity. Change name, change clone, change all the stories, the phylloxera and everything, but still there. And Ayurvedico, it's a variety producing very simple wines. It is very easy to produce wines every day. It is able to produce several types of wines. We call the Ayurvedico a polydynamic grape. It is normally thin skins. These thin skins, it's not very, it's not like Cabernet. It is like a Pinot Noir. That means that the wine, it becomes round without all those big tannins can affect the mouth, and the style, it is very gentle. So the wine from Ayurvedico, let me describe the wine. The wine from Ayurvedico, first of all, on the nose, it is all about small red fruits. Berries, cassis, cherries, all these kind of red fruits, strawberries. So this is one thing. And another thing, it is a touch of carnation,
Oh, sorry.
which is a little bit spicy. That's the nose of the Ayurvedico. And then when you have the Ayurvedico in the mouth, you have a round wine, velvet wine. Normally is something like that. And it's a style we like to have because, it's a very friendly style.
So yeah, I love those wines. Again, they're so versatile. And the St. George, I think, is a fun wine to try because it's a great entry to it. Then you have the Grand Cuvée, which is a little bit more body. It spends 2 years in oak. And then he even makes the Megasinos, which is a blend of Ayurvedico and Cabernet, which is the fullest style of wines he produces. So again, a great producer, a great region. And as you're touring through the wines of Greece, I would say definitely you want to try the wines of Nemea for sure.
And Johnny,
Yeah.
isn't Nemea, for our fans who like Greek mythology, is where Hercules slayed the lion?
Yes.
I need to add that into
I
there.
don't know my Greek mythology.
Yes.
Are you know all that stuff? Are you good at
Well,
all?
I don't know much, but every time it's been brought to me that that's been made reference that's where Hercules slayed the lion in Nemea.
And that's where the beautiful red color of the wine comes.
Right. A quick comment, Johnny, about the characteristics of Ayurvedico. What's interesting is that listening to George Skouras explain the expression of the grape variety is that 20 years ago, when Ayurvedico was being planted and it was evolving and developed into wine, it's interesting to see that 20 years ago, as Ayurvedico was being produced, it was more compared to grapes like Gamay and possibly French Merlot. And then as it developed and it evolved, and individuals like George Skouras, who actually enhanced the production of Ayurvedico, it's interesting to see that it now has comparisons to like a wine made from the great Pinot Noir.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just has to do with people knowing how to grow it, knowing what they're doing, and allowing the grape to really shine and mature in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that point. It was interesting to hear him say that.
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, I just want to throw in real quick that our next webinar on August 26th features, it's called the Greek Wine Renaissance, but it features the pioneer Greek winemakers. So stay tuned for that because it's real interesting how these guys really brought Greek wine to the world table.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Sorry,
we'll talk a little bit more in depth about each of the individual people behind the wines.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so fun.
And it's real interesting. Because you showed me the picture of Paris, and then we just saw Skouras, and it's real interesting to hear these guys and where they came from and how they kind of brought this to like the forefront for Greek wine.
Exactly.
I love that. I love the stories. So stay tuned for that. August 26th.
All right, so we're gonna now move to northern Greece. So, we talk about the islands, we talk about the Peloponnese. And now northern Greece to me is a very special place. So up in the northern part of Greece, it's a little bit cooler climate and also mountainous region. So, the mountainous regions is definitely a theme amongst these producers we're talking about. And why is that? It's just when you have high elevation vineyards, you have, again, it's a more difficult way to grow. All right, the wines are under a little bit more stress. They have higher elevation, which gives them good sun exposure, and also a good temperature shift. So the temperatures are changing dramatically from that night to day, and all those things are factors that help create flavorful wines. But there's two main regions we're going to discuss in the northern parts of Greece: Nausa and Amyntaio. This is a picture here of northern Greece. I mean, I love it over here. Where other parts of Greece are so dry and almost like a dark brownish color, northern Greece is like a rolling hills of green, lush landscape. So it's definitely a very vibrant region. And the main grape that we talk about and that is grown in this area is called Xinomavro or Xinomavro with the proper Greek pronunciation. So Xinomavro is grown in the northern part of Greece. They grow it everywhere, all over the country, but it's native to northern Greece. We call it the noble red variety of the north, and it means acid black. So Xino means acid, Mavro is the Greek word for the color black. So acid black. So that's kind of a way to describe what the grape tastes like. It's acidic, high acidic, and it has these dark kind of components to it where you might have black fruit qualities like plums, blackberries, dark cherries. Also notes of like tobacco and tomato. So it's a grape that has a lot of tannic structure. They're always going to be pretty tannic and pronounced acidity. So these are big, bold wines, and they often are compared to the wines of northern Italy. It's like Barolo and Barbaresco. But similar to Aioritico, it's a wine that you can produce lots of different styles from. Like Kiriani, one of our producers, makes a fantastic sparkling rosé from this wine. Alpha Estate makes one of the best rosés, still rosés from Xinomavro. And then they make lighter reds to full-bodied, very deep tannic red. So it's a wine that, depending on what you're in the mood for, you could have this grape can produce a variety of different styles. So I'll talk a little bit about Nausa first. So this is where Kiriani is located. These are pictures from their vineyard. And it was one of the oldest appellations in Greece, established in 1972. What's cool about this area is there's no dominant soil type. It's a patchwork of different types of soil compositions like limestone, loam, sand, and clay. And it's also grown at a very high altitude. So between 1,500 and 2,000, about around 2,000 feet of elevation. You still have a Mediterranean climate because you are close to the sea, but again, a little bit cooler. So it's a more cooler style, a cooler climate, a Mediterranean climate. It's about 300 growers in this area. About 500 hectares are grown, mostly planted with Xinomavro. So it's still a pretty small area, especially when you compare it to the Peloponnese, which had 20,000 hectares. Today, again, mainly they're growing Xinomavro, but they do grow a lot of Merlot and Syrah as well. But yeah, mainly it's a red wine region. These are some beautiful pictures. These are all taken from Kiriani's winery.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're great. They're a great family-owned winery. They've been doing this for generations. Literally one of the oldest winemaking families in Greece. They've been making wine since the 1800s. And then the name comes from Yannis Boutari, Kiriani, which means Sir John. He started his winery with his sons in 1997 to really kind of showcase the beautiful varieties of the region and of Xinomavro. It does get kind of cold. I love showing this picture because it does get fairly cool in this region. And again, the temperature changes do produce very beautiful style of wine. And then the neighboring region in the north is called Amyntaio. It's only about an hour drive from Nausa. And it's again a little bit more cooler climate. It's the coldest winemaking region in Greece. So you have snow-capped mountains. And this is right on the border of the Republic of North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Albania, right up there. So that cooler climate helps produce wines with elegance, beautiful aromas, freshness, and finesse. So I like showing this map. Nausa is below, and then you have Mount Vermion in the middle, and then Amyntaio is right above it. It's this like very unique area. It has this like sandy soil composition. It's like a prehistoric lake bed used to be there. So you actually have a lot of fossils and minerals in the soil.
Wow.
Yeah. There's about 500 grape growers in the area, a more continental climate, high elevation again, and it's influenced by 4 lakes in the area. Very, very sandy soils. So some areas are just like Santorini, where they never were affected by phylloxera because they have that sandy soil. And this is actually a picture of one of those old vineyards. Alpha Estate makes a Zino Mavro from a vineyard that's over 100 years old, which is again one of those another cool characteristic that makes them such a unique place for making wine. And Robert Parker always calls them one of those hot estates that everyone must know of. So definitely keep an eye out for Alpha Estate. It's founded by Angelo Sartrides, who's their head winemaker. And he's really spends a lot of dedication towards Zino Mavro. He also works with Sauvignon Blanc, Assyrtiko, Chardonnay, and Malagusia, another indigenous white variety. So there's just so much to look out for in this area. Such a unique terroir, unique ecosystem, but they're one of the most world-class winemakers in Greece. They do a lot to help improve the whole industry as a whole. And they incorporate a lot of amazing technology in their vineyards and in their winery to produce just delicious, balanced wines with finesse. And I like to compare these two. You know, they're both in the north, so they're similar, but Amyntaio has that more continental climate, so you have a little more elegance and finesse. And then Ramnista, the Nausa, is going to give you this more power to the wine. So a little more tannic and bolder, here more lighter and elegant. The two differences between the two regions.
Wow.
Some more pictures of Alpha Estate. Very well organized, meticulously curated vineyard.
I love looking at that snow like on the ground.
I love, you know, people always think of Greece as just summers and beaches.
Yeah, exactly. It's
it's
so cool to see that like contrast.
Yeah, exactly. So this is that old vine vineyard I was mentioning, 100-year-old ungrafted Zino Mavro here.
Wow.
So you can see, look at this, the sandy soil. I mean, it's amazing that these wines are still growing. I love it.
It's so cool.
There's a lot of French American oak here, and yeah, that's my presentation. My final thoughts. Greece is a small country but rich in history and culture, and our wines are extremely versatile, unique, approachable, and affordable.
Well said. I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is great, Johnny. I mean, you broke it down in 4 major regions, but 4 regions that actually have a lot to offer to any type of wine consumer, because you just mentioned that through this course that these wines are so versatile, so they can actually appease or appeal to any type of wine drinker on their preferences. And obviously, you know, there is hesitation with wine drinkers, but today we find that most wine drinkers have a level of being, you know, adventurous. They're willing to learn, they're willing to explore. And I think that Greece is that category where someone would like to kind of jump outside of their comfort zone.
Exactly, because they're wines with history. They're wines with a sense of place, but they're also well made, and I think they're well made for the modern palate. So it's not like they're crazy, weird, funky wines. Like, these are wines that are, you could blind taste them next to any, you know, more conventional from a more popular region, and you're going to be blown away with the level of quality of these grapes. So that's what I love about Greece. And, you know, Greece also just has so much to offer. I mean, it's so much diversity in one small country with hundreds of varieties. There's hundreds of appellations. So it's a place you can never have it all. So it could be a little bit intimidating. So that's why we kind of simplified it. So try out these 4 or 5 producers first as a great way to kind of acclimate yourself to the area, and try these regions. Then you could start to go to see other places and compare and contrast. And just like any other region in the wine world, you could see what you like better than others. You know, what are wines you like, what are wines you dislike, and find what it is that makes you, you know, excited and tickles your taste buds.
I definitely want to let all of our listening audience and our guests that are with us, you know, this is the time to ask any question you want to us, to Johnny. As we're coming to the finale of our webinar, just want to mention there, one of our guests who's a super fan and loves to follow us and is a good friend of ours, Karen, who's participating in this webinar. She's definitely an advocate of wines that are produced from organic farming, from sustainability practices. She also loves Nemea, and that's great to hear that. I'm sure she's been to Greece, but to me, she's a Philhellene who is enjoying Greek culture, but more about Greek wine. So we definitely want to open up the next couple of minutes to our guests to ask any questions.
Her exposure to Greece is Euphoti, and she still loves Greeks, which says a lot about Karen. So Karen, thank you.
It's the wine talking, maybe. That's what we're trying to say, Ari.
I'm so interested in tasting that orange wine that Johnny brought up. God, I forget the name.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my God, I saw right when I saw that and you described it.
And Johnny, it's also cool to notice that there's a lot of great restaurant groups around the country that are incorporating a selection of wine from Greece in their programs, which I think definitely helps, the actual, awareness of good quality that's coming from Greece.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes people ask me why Greek wines have taken a long time to get off the ground. And I like to compare it to like wines from Italy, where Italian immigrants came and they opened up fancy Italian restaurants with Italian wines. And when the Greek immigrants came to America, they opened up American diners and they didn't serve Greek wine. And the wines they did serve were more of like the cheaper stuff. But now this next generation of Greek restaurateurs are opening these fine dining, fancier places, high quality seafood, Greek Mecca houses of the most beautiful, amazing wines, food, and they need high quality wines to match. So it's kind of all happening together. And now you're seeing these beautiful Greek restaurants becoming advocates for showcasing amazing Greek wines. And my family owns several restaurants in New York, Molivos, Usia, Oceana, and a lot of times Greek wines are highlighted on those menus. Molivos being the one of the first restaurants in the United States to have a full Greek wine list and has the largest Greek wine list in the country. So that's definitely fun to mention and to see how that's helped it's helped push the wine industry in the right direction.
Well, you kind of answered one of the questions, which was what restaurants you're affiliated with. So Johnny's part of a restaurant group his family has. If you want to say it one more time, which restaurants they are.
So my family is Lavanos Restaurant Group. It's Molivos, Oceana, City Limits Diner, and Modern Barn. And then we opened up Usia 4 years ago, but actually the restaurant changed names, changed concepts. It's now called Hudson West. And that's all those are Manhattan and Westchester.
Awesome. And then somebody asked, Italian varietals are grown in California. Are any Greek varietals being grown in the US?
I've seen some experimental stuff.
Yeah.
The Sirtico, but I don't know of much else. I know they're experimenting with like Xinomavo and Assyrtiko in Australia. And Australia has a very big population of Greek people, so I think that's a reason for that. But there's not much else that I'm aware of Greek varieties being grown.
It's
experimental small stuff.
I was going to say, is the reason because they can't match that like unique terroir, the climate, all that?
I mean, I just think there's no reason for them to do it. Like, people are learning about Greek wines, and the Greek varieties go hand in hand with Greece, where I think if a winery tried to replant Greek vines in California, I don't know if it would like pay off for them. Like, it would just be a fun, weird thing for them to do. It wouldn't be about like showcasing Greece, it would be.
Yeah. It would be cool. It would be cool for us wine geeks in any.
Yeah, like, I don't know who would go for it.
Right.
Like,
but no, you're right.
It's hard enough to try and sell, Greek wines from Greece. Imagine trying to sell Xinomavro grown in Central California. People are gonna be like, what?
But yeah, you're right, John. I have like come across information that they are experimenting with those varieties in California. Assyrtiko as well.
Yeah, but if for some weird reason Assyrtiko or some Greek wine became like a huge seller, you'd see everybody trying to jump in on it.
Sure, of course.
And that's the way it goes. But I don't think they will be able to recreate that uniqueness.
But
I did see something about Assyrtiko being grown in like Argentina.
I mean, we could say this though, Johnny, that even though there's not really a solid production of Greek grapes being grown in California, there are some great Greek Americans making wine in California.
Yes, for sure. That's
Right?
that's definitely true. Of course.
There's definitely Greek Americans that are out there in California. I think the Lalonis family has been very impactful in California over the years in the industry. There's also, I think, the Levendis Estate wineries in Napa, but there's definitely Greek Americans that are involved in the California wine culture.
For sure.
Yeah. Ari, any other questions that coming across our?
No, I think that's it. And we're going to 8:15, so I'm gonna say I think we're gonna wrap it up, and I want to say a great thank you to Johnny as always. I mean, every webinar we do with Johnny, I'm part of, and yet I look forward to every single webinar that Johnny is gonna be part of, because he always has this amazing information. He presents it so well, and much appreciation, Johnny, for what you do and what you bring to the table, and we thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for always having me back on here, and
we will always have you until you get sick of us, and then
inviting me back.
And as you mentioned, Ari, to those that are listening, to join us on the part 2 of our series.
Yes, we have a part 2, which is August 26th, the Greek wine renaissance, and Johnny's going to be back, and he's gonna talk about the Greek winemakers that are responsible for like the incredible renaissance of Greek winemaking, and that is honestly going to be super cool, because these Greek winemakers, man, I don't know like how to describe it, but like I want to say like they're just so cool. These guys are cool. Like they know what they're doing. They're in an atmosphere and an environment that like they just like transcend, and they do something so cool. You guys have to stay tuned for that. August 26th, 7 p.m. Johnny's going to be back with us. Foti, are you going to be back with us?
You can't get rid of me, buddy.
All right, we can't get rid of Foti. But I want to say again, a big thank you to Johnny for bringing that knowledge, bringing all his insight to this webinar. Thank you, Foti, for being with us.
This is super cool.
Thanks everybody out there for listening, watching. We're going to have this on our podcast, on our video channel, on the apps. August 26th, come back and join us. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
And we will see everybody next time, August 26th. Thank you so much for watching.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Yamas.
Yamas.